Hey everyone, what is up? Welcome back to my Higurashi When They Cry Let's Play. And today we'll be recording episode 36, which will most likely be the conclusion of chapter 4, and therefore all of the question arcs. This is probably going, well, I don't want to even say probably. There's a chance that this is going to be a long one. And I think I'm fine with mostly jamming the conclusion into one big episode. Maybe I'll end up splitting it, but I'm probably going to record it all in one session. If I end up splitting it, you guys will obviously know. Because I'll have to make a conclusion somewhere. But the last episode was pretty slow for most of it, but right at the end, we got a really big lore drop, right? That is kind of recontextualizing potentially a lot of things. And I think, honestly, this is something I'm going to need to think more on. I had a lot of thoughts racing through my head, even last night as I was going to sleep, right? Just a lot of things I was thinking about Higurashi, right? Because the big revelation is that Rika seems to genuinely have some kind of precognition or knows things that happen in the future. There's just so many instances where she knows things she shouldn't, including her telling Akasaka every single person who dies on the Watanagashi for the next 5 years, as well as her mother, being like, there's a lot of things, right? She just knows that I never taught her, right? And not even just that, right? She'll know things like that it's gonna rain, and there's no way you could have known that, right? Or that weather, weather, right? That she shouldn't know, or even breaking news from other countries that there's no way she should know, but she knows, right? And so she knows things she shouldn't, and I think there's a lot of possible explanations for that. I think the two ones that I've kind of settled on the most right now. We're not going to spend too much time theorizing right now, because I'm sure there will be plenty of time for that. But I guess just while we're here, I'll say the two that I'm thinking of the most right now is basically some kind of she just knows everything that happens in the future. Because I don't know, maybe I haven't really determined why. Really, I don't know. Maybe Oyashiro-sama just has that power, and she genuinely does have the powers of Oyashiro-sama. Or maybe it's some kind of time loop, and she's lived this, right? And she knows that this is going to happen factually. I don't know how much that explains the whole idea that she doesn't know how to like Rika's mother says that whenever she experiences something new for the first time, she doesn't react like a kid normally would, right? It's she has to study the reactions of other people, and then she can imitate them, right? If it was a time loop, I don't know that that would be the case, right? So I don't know, right? I can kind of poke holes in some of my my own ideas right now, and I think the easiest way, or the easiest thing to do, is just acknowledge that something is up with Rika. She knows a lot of things she shouldn't. She's given us explicit information about all the Watanagashi killings, which Akasaka specifically knows, and maybe we have another day in Hinamizawa with Akasaka, or maybe we just jump straight to the future, right? Where Akasaka is meeting with Ooshi after all of this has gone down, everything as predicted, right? And I think the best thing to do is just acknowledge those things, keep them in mind, and to just keep moving. Also, one thing I want to say is I was looking at the last video, and it seemed like the audio was good. Let me know if anything seemed off to you guys in the last video, or if there's anything off in this one. It seemed fine to me, right? The best it had been in a while. I just want to know if that that opinion checks out for you guys too. Because if not, I'm just going to keep recording as I have been when I get back. If there's still work to be done, then, we'll make some more tweaks. Anyways, yeah, let's go ahead and jump into this. I'm excited to see where this goes. Really, alright, that's the big thing I'm wondering. Are we jumping to the future, or are we staying here? It was an accident that happened in such a small village that anyone could forget. One day after the tragedy come to a close, just as the scars had begun to heal, the young man thinks nostalgically of the little girl he once met. Okay. So this
青年は
makes me think we're in the
か
future.
つて出会った少女に思いを馳せる。
Just as basically everything as everything was coming to a
あの日
close,
聞け
he
なかっ
couldn't
た
forget
言
everything.
葉。あの日果たせなかった約束。その後悔と慟哭が閉じられたままだった運命を開く一つの光となった。
So somehow his
暇つぶ
regrets
し。
turned into some kind of hope.
運命は幸せだけじゃない。
It isn't only about
でも
happiness. But there
不
is
幸を
no
望む
no
人
wish
なん
for
て
unhappiness.
誰もいない。
Oh, I suppose these all make sense. Okay, so we're going back to the future. Right, and that's 1985. So the last Watanagashi killing was in 83. So I think I just had the timeline completely off by a year. That was my error here. I thought it was 7 years. That's 8. Whoops. Right. 78, 79, 80, 81, 82. No, for some reason, dude, for some reason doing like subtraction with years always messes me up. I don't know why. It's so dumb. Whatever. Point is, it's 1 year after the all the killings, right? Would have no, the killings ended in 83, so it's 2 years after. 2 years later. 2 years later. Alright. Let's just get on with this.
パパってば。
Alright, is this Akasaka's kid? Yeah.
大丈夫？怖い夢でも見たの？
Miyuki was sitting next to me. I quickly patted her head after hearing her say that. I must have had a bad dream while sleeping in the cabin. I was sweating profusely. Yeah, the bad dream was remembering literally everything that happened in Hinamizawa.
いや、なんでもない。ちょっと暑かったかな。
I tried to wipe away the sweat while answering and looked around for a handkerchief or towel. And then a cold drop ran down my forehead. Yuki turned to me and smiled, then wiped my face with the towel she received at takeoff.
ありがとう、ユキ。
Thanks to her, I was finally able to shake off my slumber, so I got up from the aisle seat and looked out the window. I wrapped my arms around Miyuki in the window seat and listened to the noise as the land and sea blew past us before our eyes. And then the plane gently turned before entering the airport runway. Arriving at the lobby, I glanced around, looking for Ooshi, and was met with a familiar gruff voice calling out to me.
Akasaka-san!
As in, it didn't mess with the sprite at all. I was about to say he hasn't aged a day, but, you know, I don't think they were going to mess with the sprite too much.
何年ぶりでしょう。ご無沙汰しておりますね。
Well, apparently I need them to tell me how many years it's been, given how terrible I am at making that conclusion. My conclusion ended up just being, you know what, it doesn't matter. It's been long enough.
大石さん、本当にお久しぶりです。
Ooshi clapped his hand down on my shoulder, celebrating our reunion.
赤坂さんもだいぶいい顔つきになりましたね。最前線の捜査官らしいいい顔つきですよ。
大石さんはだいぶスマートになりましたね。背筋も良くなったような。これも社交ダンスのおかげですか。
The what?
赤坂さんもね、若いうちからダンスはやっておいた方がいいですよ。
Is he being for real? Ooshi took up ballroom dancing? That kind of goes hard.
そしたらきっとモテます。モテモテ。
Brother, no. Ooshi had retired and moved to Sapporo, and of all things, had started taking ballroom dancing lessons. He had apparently gotten really into it, and had decided to spend the rest of his new life devoted to that hobby. He was aiming to get his instructor's qualifications before he hit 80, and live out his old age dandily.
おやそちらがひょっとして
Ooshi suddenly turned his attention to Miyuki, who was standing idly next to me. He bent down on his knee to look her in the face. Okay. However, my daughter was frightened and hid behind my back. That's extremely valid. Yeah, okay. So kind of as I figured. She wasn't there in the first place. I like that they seem to have drawn art for a lot of characters who otherwise didn't have any.
こら、みゆき、ちゃんとご挨拶しなさい。
She was staring at Ooshi with a dubious expression while tugging at the hem of my shirt. She's usually not this shy. I wonder what's wrong.
すみません。いつもはこうじゃないんですが。
いえいえ、いいんですよ。おじさん顔が怖いからな。よかったらお名前を聞いてもいいですか？
赤坂みゆき。7歳です。こんにちはです。
You know, I guess I could have realized that Akasaka was the last name. Do we know, his first name? I don't know that we do. Now I'm worried that it's about to be relevant. Oh no. I need to keep an eye out for his first name. Okay.
いいお返事です。さすがは赤坂さんの娘さんですよな。
Ooshi gently stroked Miyuki's head and smiled as though she were his own grandchild. After finally seeing that, Miyuki smiled in relief. Shortly afterwards, Miyuki told me that she was just doing what I had told her to do, be careful around strangers. Ooshi overheard that and let out a hearty wah, shaking his body while laughing and walking. That sounds like him, I'm not gonna lie. I let myself into Oishi's car, and we headed out towards the Hot Spring Inn. I had originally intended to crash at Oishi's place, but Ooshi was quite obstinate that his home wasn't suitable for that, so it came to this. At the inn, we relaxed while soaking in the hot springs, and ate a delicious feast until we were full. Yuki had a little bit of the Mongolian barbecue and was delighted with it. I wonder what happened to Yuki. They haven't, is she just not here for whatever reason, or did something happen to Yuki? After our bellies were swollen, Yuki grew sleepy and went off to bed. Then Ooshi and I reminisced about the time we played mahjong together in Hinamizawa. It seemed that to celebrate our reunion, Ooshi had looked for people who could play. But unable to find a suitable candidate, we had to give up on putting together a table. As we drank together, we excitedly recounted our exploits during that final manhunt.
結局、あの犯人の2人は捕まったんですか？
Doubtful.
いいえ。
Oh, he's tripped out of his mind. There's no way that's the thumbnail, but I'm quick saving
結
anyways.
局山狩りでも見つけられませんでした。多分村にかくまわれてから海外か遠方でほとぼりを冷ましてるんじゃないかと思いますね。
大石さんは確か犯人の銃の一丁を奪いましたよね。あれからは
海外の軍用拳銃でした。関西系の暴力団組織が大量に密輸したうちの一丁でしょうな。戦場痕を調べましたが、他の事件とのつながりは何も出ませんでした。そっちでは？
私はあの後しばらく現場を離れましたので、結局全部闇の中ってことで決着したようですがね。
Which is exactly what we expected, to be fair. Ooshi smiled wryly as he sipped his chilled drink.
あの後は大変でしたね。今年で7年ですか。
ええ、先日7回忌の法要がありました。岐阜とも最近は疎遠でして、準備でいろいろ苦労しました。
You gotta wonder, is the father-in-law someone we know?
それはお疲れ様でした。
It was then the hostess brought in the extra drinks that we had ordered before. While the bottles of beer clanked as she brought them in, we halted our conversation. What Ooshi meant when he said it must have been tough. Thinking about that was still hard, but time had healed the wound. It was the day after, when I phoned Ooshi to apologize. When I did, Ooshi almost immediately handed the phone to one of my colleagues who happened to be there. Not only was I injured in the brawl with the suspects, but I disappeared to drink late into the night without leaving any sort of contact information, so I thought he'd definitely be mad. However, all he said was that it was something he couldn't talk about over the phone, and I should come to the station as soon as possible. At the time, I can only think that he must have been really pissed off. Did Yuki die during childbirth? Is that where they're going to go with this? Don't. When I arrived at the station, he said this.
君の奥さんが事故に遭ったらしい。
No, it might not have even been... Dude. Is this like a revenge hit or something? Having no idea what happened, I borrowed the phone to contact the hospital Yuki was staying at. Being given the runaround several times, I was finally able to talk to someone in charge, and after mincing words for quite some time, they told me.
Akasaka Yuki-samaが事故でお亡くなりになりました。
Damn. I had a feeling that given that she wasn't there, and even Ooshi, like, I feel like even Ooshi, I don't know, okay, maybe that's not true. I was about to say even Ooshi wouldn't say something like, you'd be a hit with the ladies, right, if he knew he had a wife, right? But I don't know, Ooshi would possibly totally do that. The world became a blur as I sat there dumbfounded. Yuki's death was unbelievably abrupt, unbelievably sudden. I could have understood if there was some kind of problem during the birth. Yuki's death wasn't anything like that. On the stairs on the way up to the roof, she just happened to slip and fall. And she just happened to fall in an unfortunate place at an unfortunate angle. That was it. Wanting to blame Yuki's death on somebody, I began to think that it was an act of revenge by the Guardians, that they killed my wife and made it look like an accident. What I learned when I flew back to Tokyo, however, was much more cruel than that. Yuki had a habit of going up to the roof to cool off in the evening. There was an elevator up to the 7th floor, but from there you had to take the stairs to get to the roof. Even late in her pregnancy, when the evening came, she would always head up there. Her father had always said for her to not push herself, but Yuki insisted that until the time she had no choice but to stay in bed, she should be allowed to do as she wished. However, I had never once seen Yuki go up to the roof. I only heard that from her father and the nurses. That was because whenever I visited her, she would spend that time with me instead. I heard the reason why Yuki went up to the roof from a nurse she had become friendly with. She had said that her husband was away on business a lot of the time, and that whenever he called, she was able to cheer him up and give him courage, but when he didn't call, she couldn't do that. Her husband might put on a show of bravado, but in reality, he grew lonesome pathetically fast. Dang, that's tough. She was probably just the same. Whenever he left for business, not clear when he'd be back, she felt very lonely. Whenever she cheered him up, she was actually cheering herself up as well. That's why, whenever he went far away for an important job, on the evenings he didn't call, at the very least, she felt that standing underneath the same sky, her feelings would reach him. Dang. Bro, at that moment, I remembered the words that girl had told me, that it was best that I go back to Tokyo right away. Otherwise there would be something I'd regret horribly. Oh my god! That's a brilliant way to play that. Oh my god, bro! Oh my god! It wasn't him. Oh no, dude. Yeah. Okay. Okay, man. Yes, that's it. Because I was away on business that day, Yuki had headed up to the roof, and I'd known that this would have been the result. Had I done as the girl had said and dropped everything to head back to Tokyo, I might have been with Yuki on the day she died. If I was with her, she wouldn't have gone up to the roof. The day my wife died was on the evening of the third day of my trip. Yes, I was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yuki's voice. It was right before the time I had the sudden urge to hear Yuki's voice and ran around the village trying to find a phone. The girl had gone around and cut all the phone cords. If she hadn't, and I had made that call, I would have undoubtedly learned of Yuki's death at that time and collapsed in tears. Of course, even though the cords were cut, it had only put me off of learning Yuki's death by that one evening. In the end, I had learned of it the next morning. Maybe Rika thought that it was important that he couldn't know that night. Oh my god, and that's why she was saying it's too late. Oh no. It had nothing to do with call hours. So what? She did it probably because she felt that if there was any hope of stopping what she knew was coming, right, with the Watsunagashi killings, that Akasaka needed to know. I mean, and he probably would have been too grief struck to listen right that night. In the end, I learned of it the next morning. However, when I managed to put my emotions in order, I realized it was that girl's small token of consideration.
そんな話は初めて聞きました。
ええ、私も初めて話します。
偶然では。
No.
超能力じゃあるまいし。
大石さんは教えてくれましたよね。あの子は 親代様という神様の生まれ変わりではないかと言われてるって。
まあ村の年寄りどもはフルで理科に神通力があると信じてるようでしたがね。
Man, it certainly looks like it right now.
神通力。
Ooshi had originally said it as a kind of joke, but realizing that I was serious, he slumped his shoulders.
まあ嘘か本当か知りませんがね、未来のことを予言してみせたり、知らないはずのことを話してみせたり。
Yeah, that's accurate.
千里眼だの天の啓示だの、まあいろいろです。もちろん具体的な実例は何一つありゃしないんですがね。
But we can.
雪絵の事故を予言してみせました。
Ooshi tried to laugh it off, but out of respect to my deceased wife, he kept it restrained.
現職の警視庁の敏腕捜査官が神通力やらたたりやらを信じるわけで。
Apparently. Having him say that so bluntly, I couldn't respond. Of course, I had no intention of believing such odd things, but he could only say that because he didn't know what I did. Since I met that other girl, who both was and wasn't Rika Furude, I couldn't deny the existence of any otherworldly entity.
予知でなく予告の可能性ももちろん否定できません。
Not prescience, but a warning. If what that girl had said was a warning about Yuki's accident, then things became much easier to understand. Basically, the line of thinking became that it was a threat. Because I didn't go back to Tokyo, my wife was killed in a way that made it look like an accident.
奥さんの事故の検証に不備は？
もちろん謀殺の可能性も疑いました。現場検証の書類は全て目を通しましたし、私が独自に調査もしました。
There weren't any witnesses to Yuki's fall. There was the possibility that somebody had hidden, waiting to push Yuki down the stairs. However, the cleaning ladies frequented the roof to hang laundry, and the security cameras on each floor hadn't recorded anything out the ordinary. There wasn't anything set up on the stairs, and I was unable to find anything suspicious.
結局、独自の検証の結果でも、幸恵が単独で事故を起こしたとしか考えられませんでした。確かに、大臣の孫を誘拐して、脅迫してのけた連中です。妊婦一人を階段から突き落として、証拠を残さないなんて、できないことじゃないのかもしれない。
Oishi's expression had completely sobered up. Okay, so she was still pregnant. Okay, so I guess I don't know what happened. Like, what happens if a pregnant woman dies in an accident? Like, are you able to clutch up the baby by probably something like C-section, right? Like, I don't know if that's a thing that you can do. Like, genuinely, I just don't know, right? I guess it's not super relevant right now, but in my head, I'm like, is Miyuki even actually his kid, or did he adopt? I don't know. The timetable matches up either way, so I'm gonna assume that's his kid right now, or assume that it's not relevant. Oishi's expression had completely sobered up.
奥さんは連中に殺された。
When Yuki died, I thought that as well. More precisely, I wanted to blame somebody, so I created the most viable scapegoat. Without any clear evidence, that violent notion faded along with the wounds in my heart.
あの少女は私に妻の死を予告し、それとも妻の死を予言し、救う道を示したのか。そのどちらかなのだとしたら、私は後者ではないかと考えます。
Ooshi smiled slightly in disbelief as he poured more beer from his bottle. I think if you told him what she told you on that night of the Watsunagashi before the killing started, you could probably basically prove it.
じゃあいいですよ。赤坂さんの言う通り、古出理香は未来がわかる預言者だとします。なら、なぜあの大災害が予知できなかったんです？あんな恐ろしいガス災害が起こると知ってて、どうして黙っていたんです？ほんの数時間前でもいい。もし村に知らされていたら、ほとんどの人は死なずに済んだかもしれないじゃないですか。
Maybe she thought they deserved it. Okay, so we're seeing this again. Same thing. It was near the end of June 1983. Volcanic gases from the Onigafuchi swamp erupted and hit the village in the middle of the night. It was an unprecedented disaster where the whole populace was wiped out. It caused a wave of panic about volcanic gases across the country, causing people to overreact over any reports of odd smells. I hadn't heard of the blockade on the Hinamizawa area being lifted, so it should still be cordoned off.
それは
It was my turn to be lost for a response. Also, she was dead before it, right? Wasn't she dead before it? Like, no, she absolutely was. So maybe she can only see as far as she lived? Or like I said, maybe she thought they deserved it. Right? I mean, with some of the few people that we have reason to believe lived, it's what, like, Keiichi and Satoko. Right? But then again, with Teppei too? Like, I don't know.
お社様の生まれ変わりである古出理香が殺されたので、村がお社様の怒りに触れて、それで沼から瘴気が湧き出して村を死滅させたんじゃないかって。そういう話が確かにひなみ沢系の生存した人間たちの間でまことしやかにささやかれてたのは事実ですね。
大石さん、今殺されたとおっしゃいましたが。
Yeah.
ああ、うん、まあ赤坂さんになら話しても問題ないか。
When I saw the news about the gas disaster, I remembered that girl. I then found her name in the list of victims. That's why, at the time, I thought her own death she had predicted was due to the gas. Wrong. It was after that I learned from the tabloids of the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa during the 5 years leading up to the disaster that became known as the Curse of Oyashiro-sama. And that string of mysterious deaths lined up exactly with what the girl had predicted, so I'd always thought to ask Ooshi about it, as he had been involved in the investigation. Yeah, well, now's your chance. That's right. That was the reason for our reunion. But right now, Ooshi had said, Rika Furude didn't die in the disaster, but was killed?
最後の年のたたりについて聞かせてもらってもいいですか？
Okay, so what, is chapter 3 canon then?
私、退職したとはいえ、守秘義務がありますよ。
Come on, bro. Don't do us like this.
中井さん、すみません。お冷やで、ちょっとグレードの高い地酒はありませんか？
Actual literal bribery via alcohol.
種類はお任せします。
So brazen about it too.
いやいや、そういうつもりで言ったんじゃないんだけどな。
Ooshi laughed loudly, not wholly unsatisfied, and stopped the hostess to tell her that the cheap booze was fine.
私も週刊誌で報道されている通りのところまでは知っています。
Bro, I like actually have chills right now. God, I kind of want to put on a jacket. Like, I can't tell if I'm just cold or if the game is that heat, you know?
でも、大災害の年のたたりは全く知りません。
例の大災害のせいで、ひなみ沢地区全域が封鎖されちゃいましたからね。最後の年のたたりについては、ほとんど捜査ができてないんですよ。何年か後に封鎖が解けたとしても、村人のほとんどが死んでますし、数少ない生存者も親戚の元なんかに散って、所在がほとんどわからないですからね。
Yeah, I mean, the biggest lead is Keiichi, right?
完全に迷宮入りです。
Oishi seemed to postulate to himself as he stared at the ceiling, as if trying to work out a memory from the rusty cogs in his head. And then he said in a completely sober voice,
週刊誌なんかじゃ、5年目のたたりが大災害だ。
Wrong.
見た本当の5年目のたたりは、ちゃんと綿流しの祭りの当日にあったんですよ。富武二郎っていう旅行写真家がいましてね。
I wonder if he's going to react to that name.
彼が犠牲に。
Oishi gestured about how the victim tore out his own throat with his fingernails as he talked.
で、その富武氏の恋仲の女性が、岐阜の山中で焼死体に。岐阜県警さんがあんまり協力的じゃなかったもんで、こっちはあまりよく状況を知らないんですがね。
Right, so we know all this.
一夜にして犠牲者が2人も。
実はね、2人どころじゃ済まないんですよ。その翌日になんですがね、私の後輩の熊谷君が捜査中に車両ごと蒸発しましてね。
Okay. It's nothing to do with Teppei. Kumagai was a younger detective that was going to be partnered with Oishi after we first met.
富武氏の事件捜査のために村に聞き込みなんかに回ってたんですよ。何かの事件に巻き込まれたのかもしれない。私と一緒だったなら無事だったかもしれないと思うと あの日どういうわけか私、お腹をひどく壊しましてね。外回りは遠慮しちゃってたんですよ。
事件の真相に近づきすぎて消された
Possibly.
と思ってます。クマちゃんは善と有望な若者だったけど、まだ現場経験が不足してた。トラブル慣れしてなかったんです。
Ooshi lamented the fact that he wasn't with a subordinate that day.
で、さらに翌日ですね。ああ、彼のことは赤坂さんもご存知ですよね。ほら、入江先生ですよ。覚えてます？
ああ、あの病院の若い先生ですね。ぼんやりと覚えてます。
Dead of suicide, supposedly.
彼ですね。どういうわけか睡眠薬で自殺しまして、遺書の類はなし。司法解剖の結果でも睡眠薬によるものと断定されました。動機以外に不審な点はなし。
Yeah. Method definitely not in doubt.
睡眠薬での死に見せかけるのはそんなに難しくないんじゃないですか。他殺の可能性は。
独身で離婚歴もなし。特定の女性と付き合っていたという話もなし。
It was time for my mandatory once per episode interruption. So, I'm back. Hasn't been that long though, so.
少年野球チームの監督を務め、村人との親交もあり、誰からも好かれる人物。敵が見当たりませんね。
A certain Keiichi, maybe.
まあ、それを調べるにも、もうあの大災害でめちゃくちゃになっちゃいましたからね。今となっては、彼の身辺を調べようもありませんが。
I think the bigger worry is more who he was involved with. Not in terms of a like partner type relationship, right? More like criminal activities.
それでフルで理科の死は？
その当日です。昼頃に神社に訪れた村の老人たちがフルで理科の死体を発見しました。
他殺。
ああ、話す前にそのイカそうめん食べちゃっといた方がいいですよ。
無体な死に方。
Ooshi nodded firmly. Yeah, it sounded pretty gruesome.
死体は神社の境内、賽銭箱の脇でした。もっとも閉めたのは他の場所でしょうね。全裸で裸足。足の裏は汚れてませんでしたから。
愉快犯の犯行。
司法解剖の結果、性的暴行の痕跡は認められませんでした。
Thank God for that, at least.
分かったのは、薬物で昏睡させられてからあの場所へ運ばれ、腹部を切開、回復。
Isn't that relatively close to what she suggested would happen? Was it her who suggested that? Or was it the narrator afterwards? Like, it seemed like it was suggested that she would get, like, chloroformed and not really feel the pain of her death.
意図的に臓器を引きずり出して、四方に散らしてみせました。
昏睡？では、回復は死後ではなく。
うん。
なんて。
Oh no, I think they're implying the exact opposite of what I thought. Oh. That girl's prediction was right on the mark. I'm pretty sure she was more detailed about the other deaths that led up to her own. For example, I think she said that the housewife that was beaten to death on the 4th year had her head split open. And in that case, did she know that her own death would be so terrible? There must have been some moments where she wanted to doubt the validity of her own predictions. But as people died exactly as prophesied, as the years passed, that prophecy would only come closer to fruition. And then, facing the final year, unable to struggle against her own destiny, her all too young life was snuffed out. And in such a cruel way. Knowing that her days were numbered, and unable to fight the tide of events heralding her end, my heart ached at her helplessness.
この死に方ですが、どうも単なる猟奇趣味ってわけじゃないみたいなんです。と言いますのはですね、Hinamizawaはかつて鬼が住んでたって話は以前もしましたよね。
Right.
そんな話も聞きましたっけ？
Hinamizawa村のお祭りの綿流しってのは、そもそも綿流し、つまり臓物流しから転じたものらしいんです。なんでも人食い鬼たちが犠牲者をばらして内臓を川に捨てた。
つまりHinamizawa村においては内臓を引きずり出すことに宗教的な意味があったと。
Yeah, more or less.
で、Hinamizawa村の昔話によるとですね、人食い鬼と人間が仲良く暮らすための調停者としてお社様という神様が降臨しているってことになってるらしい。
確か古出理香はそのお社様の生まれ変わりだと言われてるんでしたね。
ねえ、ですからその荒人神である古出理香を回復して殺すのは村の信仰に対するこれ以上ない冒涜行為と言えるわけです。
That is very true.
信仰への冒涜、それはつまりお社様への冒涜ということですね。
Doesn't really get much worse than that in terms of insults.
あとは赤坂さんも知っての通りです。お社様のたたりが起こるのはその晩のことです。
Hinamizawa大災害。
The official explanation was that some swamp upstream erupted with toxic volcanic gas which enveloped the village.
発生した沼は鬼ヶ淵沼と言いまして、Hinamizawa村の旧名鬼ヶ淵村の名前の源となった沼です。村の言い伝えではこの沼の奥底は地獄につながってるそうで、かつて村にやってきた人食い鬼たちはこの沼から訪れたのだとか。
Right.
できすぎですね。
That's actually fair.
いやいやいや、まだまだできすぎてますよ。
We're gonna get into Keiichi at some point.
村には伝承がありまして、お社様がお怒りになられると地獄の釜が開いて正気があふれ出すなんて言うんですよ。
Another case of everything just lining up so perfectly.
村人にとって地獄というのは沼の底のこと。つまりそこから正気があふれ出して村を襲うということ。
そう。つまり古出理香子とお社様の生まれ変わりが冒涜される殺され方をしたので、お社様がお怒りになってたたりとしてあの大災害を起こしたと。
I know I keep saying this, but surely they gotta bring Keiichi into this at some point, right? Like, he feels like the really weird anomaly here.
そういう話がまかり通っちゃってるんですよ。
Or maybe it's like an alternate version of Chapter 3 where, I don't know, Keiichi dies or something.
つまりあの大災害は人為的なもの。
確かに話ができすぎてますからね。お社様のたたりが実在せず、本当の偶発的事故でもないってんなら、そう疑いたくもなりますよね。
A wry smile formed on Oishi's face as he listened to my absurd take on things. He wore an expression as though even if it were absurd, there was a time he had thought the same thing as well.
村の信仰をめぐって狂信的な一派があったと仮定し、彼らがお社様のお怒りがあるような状況を作り出し、大災害を実行してみせた。
もちろん私は笑いませんよ。
What would they have to gain from that, though?
私も一度ならずともそう考えたことはあります。ですがHinamizawa村がいかに小さい村とはいえ人口は1000人以上、それを一夜にして抹殺するなんてどう考えても現実的じゃないです。
The gas eruption was believed to have happened around 2 a.m., several hours before dawn. In that short amount of time, going around and killing all the villagers in a way that made it look like poison gas didn't seem feasible at all. I mean, I do believe it was poison gas, just might not have been in the swamp.
ガスの発生した沼もまた宗教的な意味がありましたよね。だとしたら沼に何か仕掛けがあって、
I guess that makes sense. Yeah,
神の
that's
裁きをいつでも再現できるような何かがあったとか。
something else I had just thought about was that it was the poison gas from the swamp, but it wasn't an accident that it leaked when it did.
自衛隊の発表では沼が発生源だということになってますよね。調査チームとかが詳しく調べた上での発表ですからね。そんな仕掛けがあったら 見つけてると思いますけどね。
That's a good point, though.
沼そのものに仕掛けがあるとは限りませんよ。ほら、聞いたことありませんか？遠くの泉の水が枯れたら村の泉も枯れたなんて昔話。
何ですかそりゃ。
水源ってのは地下水脈等でつながっていることが多いんです。
Right.
沼や泉はそれが地上に露出した部分に過ぎません。
つまり赤坂さんが言いたいのは、鬼ヶ淵沼とつながった別の沼か泉があって、それに何らかの仕掛けをすると、鬼ヶ淵沼の圧力とか水圧とかそういうものがいろいろ変わって毒ガスが噴出する仕掛けを大昔の村人がこさえていたと。
It's quite an elaborate plot, but I guess I could buy it. It would explain why wasn't there like a second eruption too? Like if they could just do it on demand, right? Like and keep people away.
そういう話ですよね。
Ooshi laughed heartily, commending the fact that the youngins have a nice flexible way of thinking. I was the former detective in him. Even though it was a hypothesis that he didn't come up with, he still had the presence of mind to not dismiss it right away.
面白い話です。それが立証できたら、日本の犯罪史始まって以来の空前規模の大量殺人ってことになりますよ。
hinamizawa村の封鎖が解除されたらぜひ調べるべきだと思います。
Yeah, well about that.
大石さんは県警にはまだ影響力は？
そこそこには。柔道部の名誉顧問ですからね。今でも夏の合宿やなんかにはちょくちょく出かけてます。
hinamizawa村の封鎖解除がいつになるか分かりませんが、ぜひ調べさせてください。
わかりました。
大石さんはこのhinamizawa村連続開始事件、
当時の署内は村人の圧力でぎゅうぎゅうでしてね。連続事件は存在しないというのが当時の公式見解でした。
He doesn't believe it.
事件は個々で、またそれぞれに解決していると。
バカな。村の信仰に基づいた連続事件であることは明白なのに。
赤坂さん、そりゃ5年も続いて派手な最後があった今だから言えることですよ。あの当時は偶然の事件が偶然にも綿流しの日に起こる。
I don't know how you could buy that that's a coincidence. Honestly, like the third time it happened. Like, there's no way I would buy it's a coincidence still.
今年は起きないといいな、なんて感じだったんです。
偶然なものか。少女は初めから全て予言していた。
少女？
古出理香です。あの子は。
So he never said anything about it.
私にその後の事件を全て予告してみせました。
赤坂さん、そりゃ本当ですか？
Yep, every one of them.
はい。あの子は言ったんです。翌年、ダムの現場監督が殺され、死体をバラバラにされると。のみにとどまらず、その後に続く連続事件を全て。
赤坂さんがその話を聞いたのは昭和の何年の話ですか？
私が少女と出会ったのは誘拐事件調査の折ですから。
バラバラ殺人の前年に？
Yep. Wrinkles formed between Oishi's eyebrows as he closed his eyes and began to digest what I had just told him.
赤坂さん、古出理香が神通力で未来が分かった。
Yeah, right.
なんて話がなしだとするなら、これはとんでもない話ですよ。
That's where I'm at too.
はい。
今さら私を驚かせるための作り話だ。なんて言ったら本気で怒りますよ。
Nope.
私は真実を話しています。連続開始事件は発生の前年にはもうすべてシナリオが用意されていた。そしてその予告の通り、古出理香は殺されました。私ははじめ大災害による死を指したものと思っていた。でも彼女の死は災害ではなく殺人者の手による残忍なものであることが分かりました。彼女は殺されると言った。彼女は自分の死を具体的にあの時点で知っていたんです。
なら古出理香はどうして逃げ出さなかったんですかね。仮に そういった死のシナリオがすでに出来上がっていたとして、彼女はそれを知りかつ、数年という猶予期間があったわけですよね。
That she did.
逃げ出すなり、警察に相談するなりの時間はあったはずです。なぜ抗わずに、自らの死を受け入れたんです。
わかりません。
フルデリカは、村の年寄り連中に可愛がられてはいましたがね。両親を失った後は、親類もゼロで身寄りはなく、親しい友人と肩を寄せ合うだけの孤独な生活でしたからね。
Guess maybe the argument is that she stayed for them.
戦う力も、頼れる人間も、身近にはいなかったのかもしれません。
Yeah, I mean, that's also true.
彼女は自分の死に対して、誰かに SOS を発しはしなかったんでしょうか。
村と警察が穏便な関係じゃなかったのは、赤坂さんも知られるところだと思います。
Very true.
少なくとも私の耳には、フルでリカが自身の身柄の保護を求めてきたという情報はありません。
I don't really recall that happening in the game as we saw either.
あるいは、自身が宗教的な生贄にされることに対し、そういうものがあったのかもしれませんね。
そんなはずはない。
She explicitly said she wanted to live. I spoke decisively. At that time, she said it. She had definitely said that she wanted to live happily. She wanted to spend her time surrounded by her dear friends. She hadn't given up on life. She had hoped to keep on living. At that moment, I became dumbstruck.
どうしました、赤坂さん？
いえ。
I fell into silence. Ooshi folded his arms and began murmuring in contemplation again. Eventually, he stood up and headed towards the hallway to find the hostess, yelling that he wanted a pen and paper. When Ooshi, noisy even though he was just thinking, left, the room immediately fell into a chilled silence. I stood up. It was then that I realized that I was drunk enough to be unsteady on my feet. When I slid open the window, a beautiful yet somehow ephemeral moon drifted across the night sky. It was just now that I realized she hadn't accepted her own death. She wanted to keep living, happily and joyously. She had said that quite clearly to me, but I was a fool. I hadn't been asked explicitly, so I hadn't realized it. She had made it clear as day that she didn't want to die. Wasn't that her cry for help? She didn't say as much that she wanted help, but even given that, it wasn't as though she wasn't looking for salvation. Without any family and unable to trust the police, she instead told somebody without any relation to the village, somebody from a faraway place. Me. Help me. Dang. Yeah, I mean... She had gone around and cut the phone cords. If I had made that phone call and learned of Yuki's death, I probably would have fallen into despair. Hey, I did explicitly say that much at least. Right, I did call this. Sometimes I'm good, guys. Sometimes. Most of the time, I don't figure out anything. But you know what? Let me relish my victories. If I was in that state, even if she was looking for help, her cries would have fallen on deaf ears. That's why. Knowing everything, she had cut the phone cords. She wanted even a little time to seek help from me. Ooshi, just before now, had lamented that one of the younger officers gotten mixed up in a case, hadn't been erased because he wasn't there. I was feeling the same way. If only I was there in June of 1983. I could have protected her. In 1983, it would have been 5 years since the kidnapping took place. While raising the only daughter Yuki had left me, putting all my youth and passion into my work, honing my wits and courage, wrestling with difficult cases. Nothing like my failings during the kidnapping incident would have occurred. I wouldn't have been slow to react in a one-on-one fight, and by that point I'd jumped into foreign mafia-run gambling parlors where I'd learned to deal with automatic weapons, let alone handguns. I'd grown so much that in 1983 I couldn't have even been compared to how I was in 1978. That's why I was by her side. I should have been able to save her life. No matter what conspiracy or foul plots drew near, I definitely would have protected her. She, even though sounding resigned, should have still been able to ask me for help. I just didn't realize it. I couldn't realize it. Just as I wouldn't have realized it if I was told of Yuki's accident, I wasn't able to realize it. I just wanted to cry. If I had taken her words to heart, I would have prevented Yuki's accident, and I would have been able to protect the girl to whom I owed a debt from even a predetermined death. She must have been expecting that from me. I learned about the disaster while watching television in my house. Until I learned about that, I had forgotten about Hinamizawa. In order to recover from the shock of Yuki's death, I tried to remove everything about the place from my memory. What an ungrateful fool I was! Even though in exchange for saving her, the girl had told me of a way to save Yuki, I was unable to accept her gratitude, and now here we were. She hadn't died in her sleep due to a natural disaster. She was split open while still alive, killed while suffering the disgrace of having her organs torn out. She must have known beforehand that on the day on that year, she would be killed in such a terrifying way. But even knowing what end awaited her, she was all too weak. A lone girl without anybody to rely upon, unable to seek help, had to swallow her own predetermined death, and left this mortal coil. God, poor Rika, man. I gotta say, the first thing that came to mind here is that, what if this is somehow why, like, there seemed to almost be like a timeline split, right? I don't know, like, maybe this is crazy, but it, like, first thought is somehow Akasaka finds a way to go back, right? Maybe to the timeline where Keiichi killed Teppei and saves Rika in that one. She said she wanted to live. She said she just wanted to live happily. That's all she wanted. She didn't ask for anything extravagant. For any person that was ever born, it was the very basest of desires. She never said a peep about wanting money, or that she wished she was in somebody else's situation. She had said it, that if all deaths were preordained, then hers was probably also all according to plan. She might have been a lone, frail girl, but I don't think she would have accepted it without at least putting up a fight. There must have been, in some small way, some form of resistance that she mustered. And with what she could muster, seeking my help was part of that. I howled. I stomped the floor. Why did I become a police officer in the first place? How could I call myself an officer if I couldn't save a single girl from the misfortune that was awaiting her? Was it because there was so much going on at that time I couldn't process the fact that she was asking for help? Yeah, that's right. I was still green. If I was in that situation now, I would have definitely been able to help her. But it was already all over. Even if I wanted to settle the regrets she left behind, Hinamizawa, as a dangerous area, was still quarantined. Most of the people involved were already dead, with the few that did remain spread around the country, unable to be traced. The stage of that tragedy was still off limits as well. The police investigation was put on hold, the case slowly being buried in the sands of time. Just like how I wouldn't have known unless Ooshi had asked me about it.
Akasaka-san, 大丈夫ですか?
No. No. At some point, Ooshi had returned with a notebook in hand. Until I saw the expression on Oishi's face, I didn't realize that I was in tears.
私は助けなかった。少女の助けに気づけなかった。
Akasaka-san, 落ち着いてください。
でももう全部遅いんです。
Dang. Bro, I gotta say, I might like Akasaka more than Keiichi. Like, I'm being honest here.
少女は殺された。こんなにも無残な殺され方で。私は頼られたのに救えなかった。救えなかった。
Jesus. Voice actors killing this, bro.
村人と良好な関係を築かなかった私にも責任があるかもしれません。
Voice actors killing it.
フルでリカが私にそれを打ち明けてくれたなら、私だって救いの手を差し伸べられたかもしれない。彼女が打ち明けに足る信頼を築けなかった。後悔しています。
When Ooshi said the word trust, it weighed on me even more. That you were the one that she trusted. Yes, she had given me her trust. She trusted me, meaning that she thought I would have been able to ward off the fate of her foreseen death. She believed in that. I cried. I fell to my hands and knees as I began to bawl. Eventually, Ooshi spoke quietly.
Akasaka-san, 悔しいですか?
No, not at all.
悔しいです。
So you gonna give us some solution?
ならば、フルでリカの仇を取るに値する方法が一つだけあります。
Oh, to solve it? Is that what he's going here for here?
そんな方法があるんですか?
Ooshi showed me the pen and notebook.
フルでリカの死を悼むためにも、
Yeah.
せめて私たちで真相を。
真相。
そうです。 古出理香だけじゃない。大勢が死にました。
Yeah, no kidding.
彼らの無念は計り知れません。でも彼らの死はあの大災害でうやむやにされ、今は捜査すらされることなく忘却の彼方に葬られようとしています。大勢死んだ。おやっさんも殺された。クマちゃんも消された。みんな犠牲になった。なのに警察は捜査もできないでいる。誰に無念が晴らせるのか。私たちだけなんですよ、赤坂さん。
Dude, I know I've said I had lingering doubts about Ooshi, and it's hard to say if they should be gone, right? But it's kind of hard to deny his influence, right? Like he feels so good-natured, right, in a lot of ways, right? He might not always do things the way he should, right? But like, I don't know. Like maybe this is all like some ruse. I guess it's possible, but like, I don't know. I see this from Ooshi, and it's really hard to not want to trust him, right? You know, like he's regretful of the truth. He's lost plenty at the hands of whatever was going on in Hinamizawa. It's getting hard for me to believe that he's actually involved in any of this. I don't know, right? In anything negative, but like, I can't discount the possibility, but it's so hard for me to believe it. Like, I'm coming to like Ooshi more and more. I don't know what's going on out there.
私たち真相が
明かせますよ。
Like, he's real serious right now.
連続開始事件のすべての現場を踏み、村の裏事情に精通する私と、連続開始事件の前年に古出理香から重要な真実を明かされたあなたとなら、
There's not a group of two people that has a better chance than them.
でももう死んでしまったんですよ。
そうです。古出理香は死にました。あなたが青2歳だったから救えなかった。
He's kind of stirring the pot right now. Really trying to rile him up. That might be the best thing to do here, honestly. Or he might swing at him. Ooshi grabbed me, who was a wreck, and lifted me firmly by the lapels. Lapels? I don't actually.
だからその償いとして真相を究明するんです。あなたの話が事実なら全ての事件は計画ということになる。そうならば調べ方は全然変わってくるんですからね。私は今夜をかけてあなたと私の持つ全ての情報をノートにまとめ、明日の朝一番で元の部下たちと連絡を取るつもりです。あの事件を終わらせるものか。
I love the determination so much.
絶対に暴いてやるんです。
暴く暴く
ねえ、あれから数年が経過しましたが、時効ではない。捜査は中断であっても終了ではない。まだ続いているんです。続けさせるんです。
ええやりましょう大石さん。このまま終わらせたりなんかしない。
Honestly, the performance here has been stellar.
絶対私たちがこの真相を暴いてみせるんです。絶対に。
I demonstrated my resolve to Ooshi by crying out those words. And just then,
パパ
the sliding door behind me opened, and Miyuki revealed herself while sleepily rubbing her eyes. My shouting must have awoken her. Then she rushed over to me.
どうしたのパパ。パパ泣いてるの？
ああ、なんでもない。なんでもないよ。みゆき。
I think that's one big thing he kind of briefly forgot about is that he has his own kids still that he's got to protect. Something like this is dangerous, man. I don't know. I respect the determination, but he does have a kid to take care of. I feel like I can already see them setting up Ooshi somehow sacrificing himself to save Akasaka. I tried hard to smile while wiping away my tears, and though Miyuki looked like she was about to cry herself, she extended her little hand to me.
大丈夫？
No.
また怖い夢を見たの？
Not really.
泣かないでパパ。
And when she makes that gesture towards me, I saw the figure of another girl overlapping with her, and her innocent gaze and innocent expression felt frustratingly nostalgic, filling me with painful torment. A girl who couldn't be here because I didn't reach out to her. She borrowed my daughter's body to offer me words of comfort.
Akasaka.
Yo. I don't know that I can use this as a thumbnail. It's kind of a spoiler.
泣かないでくださいなのです。
It might be a hallucination, maybe a convenient illusion formed from my selfish dreams. However, that was her voice. I'm certain I heard it. Rather than blaming me for my mistake, she was compassionate.
泣くものか。泣くよりもまず、私にはやるべきことがある。
Profound as resolve.
みゆき、パパはね、お前が生まれる前に、Hinamizawaってところだ。天使みたいな女の子に会ったんだ。
天使？本当に？
ああ。可愛くて、優しくて、みゆきにも会わせてあげたかったな。
Right. It's already an impossible wish. That future is already gone.
じゃあみゆき、その子とお友達になりたい。楽しみだな。今度みゆきも連れて行ってね。ひなみ沢に。
Even so, there's still something I can do.
ああ。そうだね。いつか一緒に会いに行こう。必ず。
Someday, I'm sure, we will see her again. That summer, the Higurashi cried in Hinamizawa. Ooshi and I vowed to bring the truth of the case to light and stood up. Everything ended in 1985. I, at least wanting to apologize, had searched for her grave. After the state autopsy, her remains were entrusted to one of the shrine's followers. In the future, when the quarantine on the Hinamizawa area was lifted, they would be returned to her family grave. However, unsure who exactly took the remains of Rika Furude, until today I couldn't even apologize to her. In the future, when the quarantine on Hinamizawa is lifted, all I could do till then was wait until whoever that person is returned to the grave. Returned... What I could do right now was not apologize to her. Instead, until I was able to meet her again, I would reveal the truth and dispel her regrets. That dog loves to bark, man. It's a little annoying. Even now, sporadic eruptions of gas in the Hinamizawa area meant that the prospect of the quarantine being lifted wasn't happening anytime soon. Most likely, it seemed that she had no intention of meeting me again until I found the truth. That's why the quarantine wouldn't be lifted, or so I thought. Until the day I grasped the truth. It was the following year. Ooshi and I co-authored a book on the string of mysterious deaths leading up to the Great Hinamizawa disaster. I decided on the title, Higurashi When They Cry. You're lying! You're lying! They just title dropped me. Oh my god. Okay. I didn't see that coming at all. Holy shit, they actually just title dropped. I'm sorry, I didn't see that coming. Title drops are always the funniest thing to me. But, jeez. That was because for those few days I was in Hinamizawa, the sound that I remembered the most was the cry of the Higurashi. I can only wish that based on this book, those people involved with that incident could refresh their memories and bring to light a new truth. More importantly, that nothing like this ever happens again. I wrote this in the afterword.
この惨劇がどうして起こされたのか、
Did this tragedy happen? We
私たちだけで
by
は
ourselves.
真相に至ることが叶いません。どうかこれを読んだあなた、真相を解き明かしてください。
Mamoru.
それだけが私たちの願いです。
If you're reading this, please discover the truth. That is our only wish. So his first name is Mamoru. Good to know. This year, the quarantine on Hinamizawa still hasn't been lifted. at the end. That's actually, honestly, less than I expected. Okay, like I said, that was a bit shorter than I expected, so we're just gonna go ahead and get the all-cast review session in there. We'll talk a little bit about this first. This was a good episode. Mainly, it was just it mainly felt like setup, right? If like for the the investigation arcs, the answer arcs, I think that's what they're called. Is what question and answer arcs, I think. Point is, the next 4 chapters where we're investigating, right? So one thing that I'm really wondering now is, are they gonna keep Rika dead? Like, is that just gonna be like canon, right? That Rika and all those villagers are dead. Keiichi's gone nuts. Like, I don't know. I kind of assumed there would be a reset, but like, it kind of feels like they're building up to like them being dead and investigating, right? Wow. I honestly, I kind of took them for granted. It almost feels like, but I kind of took for granted that they would just come back, right? Um, oof. Jeez. Wow. Okay. So, I mean, this episode can be summarized pretty quick. It was Ooshi and Akasaka meeting and deciding that they're going to personally reopen the case because they've both been impacted by it, both feel lingering regret over how it went and that it was never resolved, right? And so they decide together that they have to resolve this, right? And so they write a book, right? Called Higurashi When They Cry, which, I mean, the name does make sense, to be clear. I didn't expect a title drop, but, like, the name of the book, it kind of makes sense, right? Given that that is a very memorable part of Hinamizawa. It's, right, the crying of the Higurashi, right? And they write that book, and it seemed like they were trying to urge people to find the truth and to maybe contact them with it. I don't know that it explicitly said as much, but like, it gave a lot of the evidence as they know it, I assume, right? And would like encourage people to find the truth. So I wonder if like Shion, right, finds this book, right, and that's what like makes her the lead of chapter 5, right? As she starts investigating things herself as one of the remaining Hinamizawans. Like maybe it inspires her, right? But like I said, you can summarize this episode really simply, but the emotional impact, like, it was there, right? Like, I don't know, the way that like the whole scene of Akasaka kind of breaking down when he realized that that was a cry for help from Rika, that I almost said Risha, from Rika, that he had just like completely ignored because he didn't recognize it at the time, right? Him breaking down because of that, and then Oishi using that, right, and being like, we've both lost something big because of this, right? Like, and like really pumping him up, right? Like this, like, we have to do this, right? I don't know. When I see this, honestly, I think like this could be the craziest ruse I've ever seen, right, in fiction. But I'm like practically done doubting Oishi right now, honestly, right? I don't know, man. Like, there's no way he would have like really hyped him up like that, right? Like, I feel like if he really was like involved, he would have just been like, "That's the past, man. We got to move on and live a good future." Definitely don't investigate that, by the way. Don't do it. Rather than co-authoring a book with him, trying to like get this case solved, right? Like, man. So, like I said, a lot of my doubt for Oishi is kind of evaporated, right, as a result of this episode, right? I still, you got to keep reasonable doubt for any character in a mystery novel, right? Like, always got to keep reasonable doubt. But like, I don't know, it feels less and less like there's any real chance to me that he becomes like a villain, right? I mean, I guess there's still always the chance that he was involved and feels guilt for how things went because of his basic involvement, right? But I'm not sure how much I'd buy it. Honestly, this was, like I said, this was a really good episode. The emotional impact was just really there, even though the plot itself was pretty simple. The emotional impact was fantastic. The voice actors killed it. Like seriously, they killed it. And the CG of Miyuki and then Rika right there, and then Rika talking to Akasaka. I don't know that I can use that as my thumbnail. Like I feel like that's kind of a spoiler. I might anyways. I don't know. Right? I might just use the one of Miyuki. That's probably what I'll do. But like seriously, that was one of the better CGs, like in terms of emotional impact in the whole series so far. It was good. But overall, like I said, really good episode. I guess we could talk a bit about my thoughts on Chapter 4 as a whole. Actually, while we're here, like I should probably do that. So I really enjoyed Chapter 4. It was a complete tone shift. Honestly, I might have enjoyed Chapter 4 more than any other chapter in the game. I feel like I say that after I finish every chapter, but like, the pacing was a lot better in this chapter. I never minded really the slice of life stuff. I could live without it, right? If that makes sense. And the pacing of this one was so much more like snappy, right? Like, the part of Higurashi where the game is crazy, it got there so quick, right? It wasn't, I guess, as crazy as some of the other routes, like if that makes sense. It had its crazy moments and drops. But even if this isn't my favorite chapter, because like I wouldn't be shocked if I changed my mind on that a bit. At some point, I think the pacing of it was much improved. Right. Although, admittedly, I do think a lot of the fluff in chapters 1 to 3 is really important, because if you don't have any of that fluff kind of building up, you don't care about the characters all that much, right? If Rika was introduced in this chapter, for example, right, if we started here, right, I wouldn't care about Rika nearly as much. But the fact that we know Rika, like, we knew who she was, right? We had all those down moments with her. We want her to live her happy life, right? And it's tragic that she didn't get to, right? And so I'm with them, right? I want this case solved, right? For Rika, right? For everyone who died, really. But, like, I mean, Rika's, like, kind of the poster child for it right now. So I do think a lot of that fluff was pretty important. But overall, Chapter 4's pacing was so much better. Like, this late in the game, I think removing a lot of that fluff was a pretty good choice, right? Like, just having a chapter like this that is straight to the point. Fantastic choice. I really enjoyed it. We'll see how my chapter rankings look. I don't know. Honestly, I think I'd have to review them all. There's a chance that I'll review a decent amount of the game while I'm away in the next 2 weeks. We'll see. I'm not going to commit to like a full review or something, but there's a decent chance I rewatch a good amount of the episodes now that I have as much understanding as I do, and see if there's anything else that I can catch. Because there are some things you can catch if you go back and look. Right, I caught this one completely on accident at one point. But let me. It was in chapter 3. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. It was. In chapter 3, Rena directly tells Keiichi, so it's not a bad thing that you think our fun lives might not go on forever, Keiichi-kun. Kind of like, like if suddenly there was a volcanic eruption tomorrow and everyone died, if you were the only one who survived the catastrophe, Keiichi-kun, how would you feel? Right? I'm like, you read that the first time and it's a weird anecdote. You read that now and it's like, huh? Right? Like, if there was a sudden volcanic eruption tomorrow and everyone died and only Keiichi lived? Well, where have I heard that one before? Right? And you gotta wonder how many of those things are hidden in the text that I obviously missed the first time around, right? And if I looked back at it now, how many of them would I catch? And how would they help me solve what actually happened? So, I might review a decent bit of the game. But right now, it's so hard for me to say how I'd rank the chapters because it's been so long since I actually experienced them firsthand. I have a mean tendency towards recency bias. I'm not gonna lie. Really though, I think they're all very good in their own way, right? I don't know. I don't know how I'd rank them truthfully. I'd love to even give like some basic rankings. Honestly, out of the chapters I've played, I would love to hear the rankings of that you guys have. Um, like maybe in the comments or whatever, right? Like ideally don't add in any other context, and I guess honestly even don't even tell me how you'd rate the future chapters, right? I'd like to go into them kind of not having any expectations. If everyone's like chapter 5 is the best chapter in the game and I play it and I'm expecting actual peak, right, and I just don't think it's as good, like it would make it a lot more disappointing, for example, right? Like just just an example, right? It's not a big deal either way, right? But I am curious how other people feel. I've enjoyed all of them. They're all very different though, right? None of like they don't feel as derivative, right, as you would maybe expect from a route-based game with this many routes. Or well, kind of route-based game. Also, wait, wasn't this chapter supposed to have choices? Did I actually turn them off completely? I didn't mean to do that. I thought I left them on and then just showed the correct choices. So I guess I must have turned them off. Not that I was worried about getting any of the bad ends, but I didn't even see any. Like, I guess I must have turned them off. I just assumed they came really late or something, right? Okay. At some point, I maybe when I come back, we'll look for some of those. It might be after I finish the game that we look for those, though. That might be like a little, I don't want to be done with Higurashi, but I'm done with Higurashi kind of thing. Anyways, I think I've kind of said my piece on chapter 4. Overall, like, I really enjoyed it. I liked Akasaka a lot. Like, I actually think I liked him as a protagonist more than Keiichi, right? Like, I think Keiichi as a protagonist was important because, like I said, it really, like, sets you up to care for all of the residents of Hinamizawa and really it really helps you understand, like, how crazy Hinamizawa is in the moment. But, like, I don't know, as a character, I liked Akasaka more, right? Just, I don't know, I guess I just found him more interesting. I'm trying to, like, give something that I thought made him more interesting, right? I guess one of it, like part of it is just his role as a police officer, right? And being able to investigate this from an objective standpoint rather than being in Keiichi's shoes where you're thrown right into the middle of it, right? And that's just your situation, right? Akasaka was there with the purpose of investigating this, whereas Keiichi was doing it because he thought he had to, or he was going to die, or, like, lose his friends, whatever, right? The things he did wasn't, like, it wasn't, like, that wasn't his goal, right? He was certainly a lot more naive, kind of bumbling around at times, right? I don't think Keiichi's a bad character, but I just liked what I saw of Akasaka a lot. I kind of hope this isn't the last we see of him. I would be kind of shocked if it is. At this point, it kind of feels like Keiichi is basically out of commission, right? Because even assuming we're on the same, like, setup as chapter 3, where he's the, like, lone survivor, right? He's practically insane at this point, right? Like, or we're not on that timeline and he's, like, dead, right? And so we don't see him again. So I don't know. I actually don't know if Keiichi's going to come back. Like, and that might be why Shion is the protagonist, because we're staying on that same kind of timeline and Keiichi's kind of out of commission. So I don't know. I feel like his role surely isn't completely done, but, like, I feel like it might be done for a bit. I just gotta say, I really hope it really doesn't end this rough for the Hinamizawa crew. That would suck. That would suck. God. Anyways, for real this time, let's go check out the all cast review session.
この度は日暮の泣く頃に睡暇つぶしをプレイしてくださりいやいや、なんだかんだと言いましても、今回のシナリオは私の独壇場でしたからね。
Yeah, one of the, like, dual stars.
しかも渋いジャズ調なテーマ曲まで追加。
They did that. That mess was funky. That was funky, bro.
これで笑えなきゃどこで笑えって言うんですかねな。
というわけで大石はそろそろ出過ぎなのですよ。
Oh, is he about to get relegated to the sideline?
え、それはどういう意味ですか、リカ。
Dang!
言葉通りの意味じゃい。あれだけ出番があってここまで出張ろうとは身の程をわきまえないに程がございましてよ。
They didn't even show up at all.
今回はメインヒロインはリカちゃん以外みんな出番ほとんどなかったからね。
Hey, Mion showed up in tips, and Satoko got referenced once.
今回は箸休め的なシナリオだからとは聞いてたけど、ここまでメイン勢がないがしろにされるとは思わなかったよ。
They really
ミ
did.
オンさんはまだいい方ではございません
Yeah,
の。
you were at least in the
多
tips.
少は登場していましたよ。私とレナさんなんか気配も出てきませんですわ。
Hey, you had a single cameo.
レナはジャケットにも登場してますですからまだマシなのですよ。
Why is the volume so messed up right now? What is happening?
ということはつまり何ですの？
Like, that's the game. That's not like... What is...
私だけが一人のけ者で出番なしということなんでございますの？
Or Satoko.
ニパー。うはー。私だけこの扱いはひどいですわ。
Forgetting about Keiichi. You literally got more screen time than Keiichi.
かわいそうですよ。きっとだんだん扱いが悪くなって最後には脇役に転落しているに違いないのですよ。
Is that another one of Rika's, clairvoyance moments?
そんなのあんまりですわ。
Rena's about to wallop you.
そんなことないよ。さとこちゃんのことが好きな人だって大勢いるんだもん。そんなひどい扱いになんかならないよね。こんな扱い嫌ですの。
It's been so long since I saw this cast, given that they weren't in this chapter. It's kind of nostalgic.
きっと次こそ出番がいっぱいあると思うな。元気出してこね。
Well, she actually might be alive, so that one's possible.
しかし今回のシナリオはおまけ的なシナリオとは聞いてたけど、実際どうよ。なんだか随分話がややこしくなったように思うんだけど。
僕には難しくてよくわかんないお話だったのですよ。
It's difficult for the one with clairvoyance to understand things are rough.
何しろ信じられなかったのが連続開始事件が起こる前の年にもうリカちゃんがそれを知っていたなんて。
ってことはつまり全ての事件は最初から予定されたシナリオってことになるんだよね。これはかなり大きい情報だよ。
Yeah.
僕がきっと巫女なのでお社様のお告げで未来が分かったに違いないのですよ。
I mean, that's the best we got right now.
人間犯人説の私としてはそれは真っ先に否定したいところだな。
It's either that or, like, I don't know. Like, there's still, like, for specifically the deaths, there's maybe a little credibility that it was all planned, and Rika somehow found out. But, like, I don't know.
レナはたたり派なんでHinamizawaを見守るお社様の生まれ変わりであるリカちゃんにそういう神通力もひょっとするとあったんじゃないかなって思うな。
ああ、ダメ。人間派はそういう得体の知れないファンタジーは一切認めないの。
And I'm gonna need you to provide an alternative that I can stew on, Mia.
事件は全て人間の仕業。たたりも魔法もイカサマもズルも一切なし。
No aimbots. None.
僕は魔法とか使えたら素敵だと思いますのですよ。
Yeah, right?
リカちゃんならなんとなくそういうのが使えてもいいかなって思うな。
まあ人間派にとっては最後の最後でとにかくこれはでかい情報だね。最初の事件からリカちゃんが殺され大災害に至るまでが全てシナリオ。
Right.
つまり 丸々一つの事件だったってことがわかるだけで推理材料は格段に増えるんだから。
レナはこの予言こそ、つまりリカちゃんが神通力を使える証拠。つまりひなみ沢村には不思議な力が存在するんだってことの証拠になると思ってる。人間だけに起こせる事件じゃないことの証明になるんじゃないかな。
It's getting hard for me to deny that, I'm not gonna lie.
僕は頭がこんがらがってわかんないです。
そうだそうだ、それよりもさ、今回リカちゃんが見せたあの表情、なんだか怖かったな。
Yeah, it was.
みー、レナも驚いたな。可愛らしいリカちゃんがあんな笑い方をするとは思わなかったよ。
Horrifying. You've all done it, I don't want to hear it.
ねえ、ちょっとさ、もう一回あの顔をしてみせてよ。
No.
嫌なこったなのですよ。レナも劇中以外ではしてほしくないな。はう。うわ、なに停電かな。
全員動くなでございましてよ。変な動きをしますとバルカン一斉射撃から誘導ミサイル連射、そしてとどめにレーザーサーベルめった切りをお見舞いしましてよ。
What is going on?
さとこ、これは何の真似？
She just sneaking them in or
出番
something?
なし軍団、これよりお疲れ様会を占領させていただきましてよ。
W. That better include Keiichi.
なんだか素敵な登場をありがと
Are we gonna get a phone call with him again?
う。改めまして皆さん、
Hello, dead
こん
people.
にちは。
いやー、まさかこんなところで出番があるとはな。
You also got explicitly referenced, more than just at the end, with a, oh, he died, by the way. Still want to know what that Tomatake Mark II line was about.
思わぬ出番が嬉しいよ。さとこちゃん、ありがとう。
皆さんこんにちは。
あらあら、身動きなさらない方がいいと警告しましてよ。
It was rigged.
竜宮さん、大丈夫ですか？
Oh, we didn't see Chie either, besides the flashback and the teacher's note 3, I think.
王女さん、ここまでやらなくても。
She had to. It's mandatory.
出番がなかった恨みは恐ろしいんですのよ。
本編の分までさとこが大活躍なのです。
出番なしの恨みってわけか。くそー、いつの間にこれだけのトラップを。
ここがお疲れ様会の会場に選ばれた。その時点ですでに私のトラップにかかっていたということになるんではありませんの？
I would buy it if we're talking about Satoko. Nothing would shock me with her.
そうか、わかった。あんたの後ろで糸を引いているやつがいるね。いるんでしょ？出てきなさい。
That checks out too. Hey, whoa. We better not act like, like, oh, poor Shio, no screen time. Like she's not about to be a protagonist.
ハロロ、マイシスター。
Why did you say it like that?
ごきげんよう。
しーちゃんだ。こんにちは。
ハロロ、マイシスター。ごきげんよう。
I was not expecting that. Trapped again?
同じ罠に2度もかかってかわいそうです。
Fool me once, you fool me twice.
やっぱりシオンか。何気に主役張ったシナリオまであるのにこの狼藉。
That's what I'm saying, Mion.
あんたやってくれるじゃないの。怪盗編前の折り返しおまけシナリオとはいえ、お姉だけに出番を許すほど私も寛大じゃないってことです。
I'm actually really intrigued to see Shun as the main character, but
まあそんなわけでちょっとさとこを焚きつけさせてもらいました。
their dynamic remains really funny. It's a shame we probably won't get to see any more of it, at least in chapter 5. I don't know. I think there's a non-zero chance they're gonna find some weird way to revive everyone. But like, I don't think it would be in chapter 5.
シオン、あんた何が望みなの？安全圏の確保とでも言いますか。昨今ですね、どういうわけかお姉がじりじりと票を伸ばしてるんですよね。
Yeah. Wasn't having
共
that.
通ルートのみーちゃん萌えって意見が開発陣の間でも結構多いんだよ。
That's what happens when she's the best character in the game. I'm just saying. I don't even actually like. I don't even know how I'd rank the characters, but Mion is certainly still one of my favorites, if not my favorite.
恋路の悪いあんたのボロが出て、プレイヤー処刑はやっと私の魅力に気づいてきたってことだね。サトコもたたり殺しで高評価らしいし、
Yeah, it is true.
レナやリカちゃんには根強い固定票があるし、あんたの人気もとっくに陰ってるってことだね。
And it's about to go shoot right up if she's a good pro tag.
そういうわけで、不穏に票を伸ばすお姉やサトコをここいらで一つ叩き落としておこうと思いまして、こういう大仕掛けを打たせてもらったというわけです。
Right.
シオンさん、今何と言いまして？
Retro.
私も叩き落とすですって？
You got outplayed.
おちびちゃんは気づくのが遅いようで。
Shorty.
そら、
にゃにゃにゃー。
Rena is about to crush you.
さよならレギュラーの皆さん、こんにちはイレギュラーの皆さん。あんたたちメインヒロインはこれでおしまいです。
That's pretty much canon.
シオンちゃん、そこまでやらなくてもいいんじゃないかな。
Also, it's not like Tomotage and Takano are about to suddenly appear, right? Given that they're literally dead. Well, I don't know. They could totally appear. It wouldn't even shock me at this point. Well, it would,
まあま
but
あジローさん、面白いからほっときましょうよ。私たち二人の出番がいっぱい増えるのよ。
you think?
ジローさんは私と一緒。いや、
That's interesting.
あそんなことないよ。
シエ先生、先生までしーちゃんに買収されちゃったんですか？
Yo!
リュウグウさん、
Even Chie's in on it.
シオンさんが次回のシナリオからは教えてチエ先生のコーナーを作ってくれるって言うからつい。
Greedy.
さてと、
Chie's evil, bro.
誰から恥ずかしい処刑をしてあげましょうかね。大仕掛けを手伝ってくれたお礼に、サトコからかな。
それは許しませんよ。
Okay, Irie clutching up. Bro is not gonna have that.
監督、なんだか珍しく頼もしく見えますわ。
サトコちゃんに対する狼藉は私入江京介が許すわけにはいきません。
If we didn't know his first name already, we do now. I don't know that that's relevant, but I will keep it in mind that it is Kyosuke.
私も脇役一派ではありますが、怪獣できると思わないことですよ。
Yeah, you're cooked. So I guess this all-cast review session has not been what I expected. It turned into a Civil War arc.
ありゃ、この後に収録予定の実録サトコメイド教育着せ替え編の主役は交番死隊長。
No, no, Irie, don't do it. Don't do it.
シオン様。
Not the Sama, bro.
この入江、一生どこまでもついてまいります。
Shion is evil, bro.
怪獣早っ。さーて、これで全て私の支柱ですね。これからはお疲れ様会もシナリオも
Bro.
全て私の思うままに進めさせてもらいますね。あれ、一人足りない。
シオン様、リュウグウさんがいません。いつの間に抜け出したのか。
いた、リュウグウさん。さっき身動きしてはいけませんって言ったはずですよ。
レナちゃん、悪いことは言わない。抵抗しない方が無難だよ。
レナ、 悪いけど、
Yeah, it
こん
is.
なやり方おかしいと思います。
It is really bizarre.
それは何の真似？目明かし編の台本？なるほど。登場回数を削られる前に確保しておこうという魂胆ね。
Reading the script.
無駄な抵抗を。
レナさん、無駄な抵抗はよしておとなしくした方がいいと思います。私をあんまり怒らせると、あなただけでなくお姉たちの処遇も変わってくることになりますよ。台本を確保したくらいじゃ何もできないよ。レナ、ここは悔しいけど言う通りにした方が。
大丈夫、安心して。
Let's see what Ren's got cooking.
この目明かし編の台本が加わったことで、レナたちはこの状況を逆転できるの。逆転？一体どんな秘策があるというんですの？
レナさんは結構笑わせるのがうまいです。なら試してみたらどうです？その逆転ってやつを試しに見せてください。
しーちゃんは甘えてる。本編にいくら出番がなかったからって、こうしてお疲れ様会でこれだけの出番を得ているのに甘えてるよ。
Oh, snap.
私がいつ甘えたって言うんです？
しーちゃんは分かってない。たとえお疲れ様会だけといえども出演し、他のシナリオにもあれだけ登場しておいて、この狼藉。そんなしーちゃんをね、許すことができない地獄の怨嗟が、ほら聞こえてこない？
Is Keiichi about to roll up?
そうか、わかりましたわ。
Maybe that's not where this is
そう
going.
か、
I don't know.
ケイちゃんか。
It is. Okay.
そうだよね。お疲れ様会はいつも出番なし。そのケイちゃんを差し置いてお疲れ様会占領なんてケイちゃんが許すはずがない。なるほど。で、その未だに収録居残り中のケイちゃんがどうやってここへ現れると？
Kind of implies that Keiichi's gonna show up again, but like he, the same thing happened after chapter 3, and it's not like he showed up in 4.
まさかケイちゃんを私たちの誰かが追い抜いたわけでもあるまいに。
Besides you.
そう思うのがしーちゃんの慢心だよ。
いけない。あれは赤坂編の収録ワード数表。知恵先生、レナちゃんを取り押さえて。
What? That's the voiced word count from Akasaka's part. So I guess he's coming back.
もう遅いよ。いよいよ出番だよ。
Bro, suddenly shows up, bro. It has been a minute.
その声はケイちゃん？まさかケイちゃんは収録居残り中のはず。
そうさ、今まではそうだった。収録居残りのたびに残りワード数で誰かを抜けばお疲れ様会に参加してもいいよと言われ続けて、それでも他のキャラと比べても2倍あるいは3倍以上もある分量をこなすなど不可能というか、最初から参加させる気ないだろ音響監督さんよと思って諦めてきたが、ついに俺は抜いたあるキャラを。シオン、これを見やがれ。
え？
そう、主役として登場パターンが増えたシオンは
Yeah.
当然喋るワ
Okay,
ー
it
ド
is
数も
Shion.
これまでの2倍。
So you need to get in the studio.
しかもミオンとキャストが同じだからさらに2倍。その結果、俺はようやくついに居残り免除。そしてシオン、今度はお前が居残りだ。
嘘。私次の目明かしでこんなに喋るんですか？ケイちゃんが約500でシオンは2700超え。これ普通のアドベンチャーゲームなら全キャラの総合係数だよ。
しかもこれにミーの数が加わるのです。その数やなんと。
うわー、聞きたくない、聞きたくない。
というわけでだ。
Lots of
でだ、
lines.
感謝するぜ。月にすら見放され 真の闇が地上を覆いし時
What in the world is he saying?
漆黒の魔王前原慶一降臨
What? I see. If it's like this, he can appear even if he doesn't have any character art. There's no character or background art, so it's really easy on the production staff. And they still didn't give him like sprites.
まるで自分が悲劇の主人公みたいな振る舞いだったが、俺から見れば
Okay,
実に滑稽千万。
Dude turned into the Joker.
少しいい気になりすぎたみたいだな。お疲れ様会の旅に常に居残りになって胃ろうの一杯にすらありつけなかった俺の怒りを恨みを悲しみを
Dramatic.
今こそ教えてくれるぜ。
なんだか圭一くん悪の化身みたいだな。
化身じゃない魔王と言ってもらいたいぜ。
Oh god.
そして俺が抑圧された悪夢の中で手に入れた闇の力はまさに無限大で無量大数。俺による俺のために作り出したこの闇の世界では俺に逆らうことは何人にもかなわぬのだ。
Right.
圭一くんなんだか怖いな。
Ren is into that.
怖い怖い日暮らしの時間はもう終わりだぜ。ここからはポップでキュートで萌え萌えな日暮らしが始まるのだ。
Could you imagine if he was actually right?
なんですって。
Here he is rocking with it.
前原様ぜひ私もお供に。監督は分かってるじゃねえか。じゃあお医者な監督をしもべに迎えた第一弾として我が魔力を見せよう。
What does that mean in this scenario? Like, surely it doesn't. We're gonna move on.
なんなのこれ。
高野さんがミニスカなナースさんナース服に
Yo, Tomatake is freaking out. I have never seen that.
しかもピンクとかのギャルゲー的な色じゃない。分かってる。ちゃんと清楚な純白だ。
What is happening, dude? This has been the most ridiculous. Dude, this has been so ridiculous.
ナースさんの分際で本編で一度もナース服を着ないとは少子千万。さてと次の標的はと。
レナこれじゃ全然形勢は逆転してないよ。新しいピンチを迎えちゃってるよ。は
あこんな真っ暗じゃレナにもどうしようもないよ。
さて次は誰にどんな衣装を着せようかね。手堅く制服体操服すく水の三段コンボでも決めとくか。
前原様最高っす。
Bro.
その後はバニーさんにコンパニオンに。いえいえレオタード姿もいいですね。いやいやいっそみんなお色気全開にしちゃうってのはどうでしょう。
What?
もちろん靴下は残すのであります。
Bro's rocking with that idea.
それいい分かってるじゃねえか。監督俺やっとあんたと打ち解けられた気がするぜ。
This is not what I expected from this review session at
い
all.
えいえ前原さん。いえケイ私のことはこれからはイリーとドクターイリーとお呼びよ。ケイ僕たちのことも忘れちゃ困るよ。
Bro, Ooshi finally showing
ト
back
ミー
up.
とクラウドも常に K のそばにあります
Who
よ。
are Tommy and Cloud?
トミークラウドついに揃ったぜ。四天王ここに見参だ。
ついに
Narrator? Who is this?
慶を筆頭に悪の四天王が揃い分暗黒を得てついに地上に降臨を果たした漆黒の魔王その魔力は絶大にして無比。この闇では誰にも立ち向かえない。屈するほかない。ああ、ヒロインたちはこの闇を抜け出せず魔王たちの思うがままに恥ずかしい衣装を次々と強要され、
What in the world?
永遠に等身大着せ替え人形の扱いをされてしまうのか。
What am I reading?
最高だぞ、もっとやれっていうか、すくみずはちゃんと旧タイプだろうな。
Bro, even the narrator?
競泳型だったら許さんぞ。
だくシオン、あんたのせいでこうなったんだから、あんたなんとかしなさいよ。
大丈夫ですおね。暗闇の中で真の力を得るのはケイちゃんだけじゃないです。
そんな都合のいい味方ここにいましたっけ？
チョコザイナ、その先シオン。
What, is Akasaka about to show up or something?
ちなみに校長先生を期待してるなら残念だな。男子本会ここに極まれり。男たる者最善を尽くすべしとお墨付きがちゃんとあるのだ。もちろん新登場の赤坂さんに頼ろうとしても無駄だぜ。昨日からお嬢さんを親類に預けて夫婦水入らずで温泉旅行だそうだからな。つまり八方塞がりってわけさ。
Never mind. They saw what I was thinking.
甘いですねケイちゃん。安易に闇の世界を生み出して妄想全開すっちゃらか万歳ってやってしまうと、とある誰かも真の姿を表すことが可能になるのです。
Of course, of course.
というわけで、
知恵先生、そういうわけです。前原くん。
真っ暗でよく見えませんけど、なんだか知恵先生の服装が変わってますわね。何ですの？あの両手にいっぱいの剣は。まさかそんな。それはいくらなんでも反則。
それ以上は内緒なのですよ、ニパー。前原くん、少しお板が過ぎたようです。
Joe's about to get turned into the construction site foreman.
これ以上は教会も見逃せません。
ちょっと待てよ。これはないだろ。映るだろ。作品違うじゃねえか。おい、こんなのなしだろ。そのでかいのはまずいって。早すぎる。
She's got iframes.
あんたその動きは絶対人間やめてるだろ。
Dang! You just got comboed. Back to the main menu. Okay, so that is like in no way at all whatsoever what I was expecting there. To be honest, I was hoping that would help me drive some final thoughts for while I was away. And it did. Oh, okay, it's not over. It's not over. We're not back in the main menu, so... But I was going to say, I thought I was going to drive more thoughts and maybe bring up some more, like, discussion points just for me to think on. It's still possible. But that certainly was not it. That might have just been our, you know, a little bit of mischief, given that we did not get any in the chapter itself.
改めましてこんにちは。この度は日暮の泣く頃に推暇つぶしをお楽しみくださり誠にありがとうございました。
I think you already know this, but Higurashi When They Cry is a type of visual novel without any choices. Therefore, compared to adventure-type visual novels with branching routes to take, it's much closer to the experience of a book or a movie. Because of that, there is the opinion out there that this should not be called a game, per se. If you're just watching it like a book or movie, Higurashi When They Cry isn't really a game. True. That's why, as you know, there are a lot of mysteries referenced during the course of the experience. When you challenge those, this work will become a proper game.
プレイヤーの皆さんにはこの謎に満ちた物語を様々な角度から捉え吟味する権利があります。例えば劇中に散りばめられた謎について推理をし、それを発表して反響を得たりすることもまた楽しいかと思います。
Now that's exactly what I did, and it has been quite fun so far, I must admit. You know, even if it took me a really long time to get here. In any case, the next chapter starts the answer arcs. We've tentatively called it Maikashi is how I'm saying that. I'm probably mispronouncing that. But answers are a sad thing. Based on what is revealed, all the possibilities that you were allowed to imagine until now will suddenly become refined down to a few. Based on that logic, we think that right here, for the answer arcs, is probably where people can enjoy this work we call Higurashi When They Cry the most. If, by chance, while you are reading this, you already have the Akasaka chapter at hand, please enjoy hypothesizing, theorizing, and fantasizing to the fullest before you start. That's where the real charm of the series takes place. Sorry for saying something so impudent. No, you're right, though. There's nothing better we'd like than for you to enjoy watching Higurashi When They Cry. It didn't say anything about watching. What?
それでは素敵な夜長をHinamizawa村で皆さんをお待ちしていますね。レナと遊んでくれるなら一緒に宝探しに行きたいな。はう。
Okay, are we actually getting sent to the main menu this time? Yeah, we are. Okay. Well. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. Didn't really give me much food for thought there. It was a fun sequence. I don't regret viewing it. I was hoping it would have a little more substance than that, admittedly. But I think they are right. Right there at the end with that whole talk of like a lot of the fun in this game is like the theorizing, right? And obviously I do have Chapter 5 ready to go. I've got the whole game, you know? And we're going to do some more theorizing. Like I said, I can't commit to a full review of the game, but I'm going to rewatch a lot, like a good chunk of the episodes, I think is my plan. I'm really curious to see if I can discern anything by rewatching, and then coming up with some theories, and then we move on through Chapter 5 and just play it from there, right? I think that's the idea. So, I suppose that's it for the Higurashi question arcs at this point, right? For the most part. I mean, technically, it's not really completely wrapped up until I start the answer arcs, right? But this is all the new content that we're getting, right? There is no extra new content to get. Yeah, it's just all going to be review at this point. Like, we've seen all of the content there is to see. Besides, what, bad ends, right? Besides those. Which I still don't know where they even were at, honestly. But there, yeah, I've got a lot to think on. There's definitely going to be a video when I get back with some of my thoughts. I think this video is being uploaded on a Monday. I'm not going to be back until a good bit after that. I don't have a calendar pulled up. Let me pull one up. I can pull up the exact dates. Calendar. But I think this is being uploaded on the 26th. I'm not back till the 29th, so I don't think I'm going to have a video for the 30th. Maybe my theory video will be out by Monday the 2nd of September, but I think at the latest we'll probably target September the 6th. It'll give me a little bit more time to review some episodes as well. Well, okay, I don't even want to say at the latest, because like I said, I do want to review some episodes, and if I decide to do a full rewatch, right, it might take a little longer than that. I'll try not to take a ridiculous amount of time. I'll try not to take 2 months this time, is basically what I'm saying. To, like, actually start, you know, like a month for the theory video, and then the next, the first episode of the next chapter, and then a month after that to actually play it. We'll try to not do that again. But, you know, I'm not going to commit to coming back and having a theory video up within a few days. Because, honestly, like I said, I think I do actually want to just review all 4 chapters. Like, actually. So, I'll probably try to do that. And we'll see when I'm done with that. And when I've come up with theories that I'm happy with. Or when I reach the point where I'm like, I got nothing. Right? And basically just say as much. Come up with what I can, even if I think it's wrong, right? You know, I'd rather give some wrong answers than none answers, or than no answers, if that makes sense. So, that being said, I think that's all for this episode. There's really nothing left to say. I've given my thoughts on, you know, this episode, this chapter as a whole. I mean, I guess I could give my thoughts on the answer or the question arcs as a whole. I mean, I thought they've been fantastic, right? I know it's taken me a really long time to play, and so you might be like, oh, he must not have enjoyed it that much. That's wrong, right? It was a lot of extra factors that have slowed it down so much. It hasn't been my enjoyment of Higurashi. I think it's a great game. I had a lot of fun playing it. I think one of the most most fun parts. I'm glad I combined those two words. That's awesome. One of the most fun parts is coming up, I think, right? Coming up, like they said, coming up with all of combing through everything again, trying to figure out what I think happened, and then we're gonna see if I was right. I'm really excited for all of that. I hope you guys are excited to see all of this as well. Like I said, I don't know exactly when that's gonna come out, but whenever it does, I hope to see you guys there. And until then, peace.